Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Environmental Coffee House, and welcome, Jennifer. And I am Sandy Shellis, and we are here for Friday Night Live, although it is Saturday afternoon where Jennifer is, late afternoon, and it is early evening where I am because both of us were too damn tired yesterday to quite
That's
to
the
be.
truth.
That's the truth. Well, good evening, Jennifer. And you have a cadre of things tonight on your plate. And
I do.
yep, and we do. So I think we'll let Jennifer get started because I'll do a little sharing and let's get some people with us. Good evening. Hi, Matt.
Yeah.
Matt's here. He says hi. Okay, cool. This
Hey,
is working.
everybody.
All right. All right. Yeah, it's a lot of Arctic stuff. That's pretty exciting actually because it's going to lead to more research or although I'm not going to jump to the I'm not going to head you off in the past here.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started.
Yes.
We've got a couple of things from one thing from the Arctic and one thing from the Antarctic, and then we're going to jump into the natural world. But I think this one especially is very, very interesting. This was sent to us by our good friend Orla Graham in Galway, Ireland. So thanks very much, Orla, for bringing this to my attention. This is an article that's in phys.org,
Mm-hmm.
and it says research links sea ice retreat with tropical phenomena, including a new kind of El Nino. So, we all know that the jet stream is really, really critical for our weather, and this goes hand in hand with that. So I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Two researchers present evidence today in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences that accelerating melt of Arctic sea ice is linked to weather patterns near the equator in the Pacific Ocean. So, what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic, as we
We
know.
know that.
Yeah. And what they have found is that the ice melt in the Arctic, the sea ice melt in the Arctic, sets off a chain of events that sends cold air equatorward south
Mm-hmm.
in the upper atmosphere. So I think that everybody knows how the jet streams are becoming more erratic, more elongated, slowing down, becoming more distorted. And this is right along the lines of that. And what they say is among the variables that seem to move in lockstep with ice melt were intensifying trade winds at the equator
Wow.
in the central Pacific Ocean. The study marks the first time that researchers have looked at both world regions together in this context. However, it's not the first time that it's been talked about. I think that most of you follow Paul Beckwith
Mm-hmm.
and watch his great videos. Paul came up with, Paul's a great observer of the natural world, and he's so good at putting together the dots and coming up with new ideas and new hypotheses. And Paul, a couple of years ago, um, mentioned that he was seeing the jet streams cross the equator, and he got a lot of criticism for that because he showed in one of his videos, must have been at least 2 years ago, that the jet streams were actually crossing over the equator because usually the jet stream gets down to a certain area and then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of whips back up again. But what they're seeing is there's a lot of interaction all the way down to the equator. And it's intensifying the trade winds at the central Pacific Ocean. So that's pretty interesting.
It is, and
They say,
go ahead.
yeah. No, 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 go ahead, please.
I'm looking for myself to add. I had that a graphic that I had made. So if, in case people wanted to have an idea of what we're talking about as far as the latitudes, which I've got put up right now, and it shows you the Arctic Circle, it shows you the North Pole and the parallels, the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere, so that if you're a layperson like
Hmm.
I am, you can understand what's happening from the north and how it can actually affect what's going on in the southern hemisphere this way. Exactly what you were describing. Wow.
Hmm. Yeah, everything affects everything else. So now, I mean, they're getting more into the feedbacks that they're seeing and how one thing happening at the top of the world can affect something happening down in the equatorial region. And they say there's a definite relationship and change
Mm-hmm.
in tropical Pacific climate. There's now a network of consistent correlations, which for those of us that have been looking at this for a long time, it's not new. Now, this is pretty important. The Pacific Ocean is considered one of the biggest, if not the biggest, drivers of global climate.
Yeah.
What originates in the Pacific, including patterns of warm equatorial water known as El Nino and La Nina, affects weather experienced on every continent. Thus, the melt of Arctic sea ice could have a global reach by influencing the influencer, aka
Mm.
the Pacific Ocean, of weather set in motion around the world. It's kind of amazing. Um,
I took myself
this is
off, forgive
also,
me. I'm trying to figure out why I cannot get the YouTube comments to come up when I'm streaming directly to YouTube first and then Facebook. So I'm sorry I took myself off, Jennifer, and I was
mm,
listening.
yeah. Oh, that's fine with me. I'm just bouncing along.
I
Yeah.
know. I like to get
Um,
everybody's comments on. Oh, well.
yeah, absolutely. I,
Sorry.
I can at least see the comments, guys. I want
That's
to let you
great. All
know
right. So,
I've made progress. I
yeah.
can now see comments on my
We're
phone.
making
Yay,
progress.
Jen. She's not like completely old school, right? I mean, I'm
Right.
making progress. There's
Right.
hope for me.
It's kind of a slow night on Saturday, having this from our Friday, but I'm just thrilled that everybody's here with us. So that's great to go over this stuff.
I'm so happy that we're just doing this. It's great. It feels great to be able to form this collection of people with this live stream. And it's our family, it's our little
Yeah.
internet family.
Yeah. And we have,
Like to talk, like to keep talking about this, and if
yes.
you want to keep putting comments up, that's fine. So it says here, and this is about the
Okay.
feedback in the Arctic Ocean. Sea ice melt affects climate by first raising the temperatures of surface water in the Arctic Ocean.
Hmm.
We know that. While most sunlight bounces off ice, right? That's the albedo. When you have a low albedo, you get a lot of reflectivity, or I guess a high albedo, you get a lot of reflectivity. The dark water absorbs about 93% of sunlight, like applying a flame at the bottom of the atmosphere. This next part is very interesting. I think that this relates to the sudden stratospheric warming that has been seen up in the Arctic region that they've noted the last couple of years. The warmth that is coming off of the Arctic creates convection of air that reaches the boundary of the troposphere and the stratosphere above it. So you got all this hot air going up to almost the stratosphere. The air then has nowhere to go but south. This movement goes hand in hand with contortions of typical weather patterns that have caused the frigid polar vortex in the US Midwest and the deadly flooding in Asia in recent years. Those of us who are here in North America have experienced tremendously cold winters as the polar vortex descends. That's also related to the dripping jet stream. And you can think of the Arctic as kind of like a melting ice cream cone. And as it melts, the jet stream is kind of like those drips off of the ice cream cone. And that is the polar vortex. And it's all tied together with the jet stream and this high stratospheric warming.
Wow. It's pretty intense
I know
stuff.
it
It really is. I'm
is.
looking for I'm manning like three different controls, but
Are
the
you?
yeah, but it was interesting when I went um this PNAS, this journal, and looked at the I used it in the video, right? The uh it's how I understood it. Understanding that they were doing a conceptual model connecting this seasonal loss of Arctic ice to the mid latitudes, and but I figured I needed a little help because I'm not you, Jennifer. I'm actually, there's probably a lot more people like Mike Olinger. He's with us. He says not only the Arctic, also the wildfires just put into the stratosphere too. So there's,
Right.
quite a bit of
All
stuff going on.
together.
And I
Those are
can't get
all the different feedbacks, and those wildfires cause soot, right, and a huge amount of smoke, which settles on the nice white ice, which
yeah.
then is not white, which then absorbs more water, which then melts, which then turns the ice into water, which then causes more warming, which goes up into the stratosphere, which drips down to the tropical regions and changes the climate, essentially. So think about it. This could change what happens in California because California's rain
Yeah,
comes from atmospheric river storms that develop in the central Pacific.
that's what we read.
So, that could actually change California's climate in the long term, and it could affect the rain patterns in a deleterious manner.
That's pretty scary. I mean, to put it bluntly, it's happening.
Mhm,
And this is just but what gets me is the authors, of course, they have to say that
mhm.
this is going to be more research that has to come from this. And I
Yes.
think this, how much time do we have to keep researching all this? I mean, we see what's happening. And I don't mean
Yes.
to be the naysayer, but it was an interesting article. I thought anyway. So I'm just really upset that not one time can anything ever go perfect. And that I cannot get the YouTube conversation up on this, but I can see it. Everybody, you see, I can see it here, but
Oh,
I can't get it on this app. It's so
okay.
silly. Yeah, but it makes everybody feel bad because they can't get up on the screen. Kendra
Oh,
Watkins, Stephen Davidson, Your Environment Seattle, Adam Indigenous Dutch, Osama number 5, Kent Deal is with us. Human. There's Kendra, did I say your name already? CB Unglesby, Kim Santino. So many people are with us. TCR Galaxy. So at least I could give them a shout out while we go to the next topic or next one you wanted to
shall
look
we?
at.
Shall we jump down to the South Pole now?
Yeah, that was the Antarctic. Okay,
Yeah.
let me find that one because of course as I'm just not doing very okay, here we go.
You're
Yeah,
doing
this was the
great,
Common Dreams one.
right?
Yep.
This came out in Common
Yep,
Dreams. Do you
this is
wanna do you wanna read this or shall I go with
No,
this
you go
one?
with this one on cuz I'm going to do
Okay.
the locusts. I
Oh,
can't
yes, we have
wait.
some very exciting topics coming up.
Yeah.
And I won't even mention what it is, but Sandy's gonna handle it. She's been like focusing on it all day. She's probably like all scared about it, which she should
No,
be.
I'm Okay, I'm getting
Okay,
off.
so
You
this
go.
next one is about Antarctica. So we know the Arctic is falling apart. That much is clear. So let's jump down to Antarctica. This is something that just came out in Common Dreams yesterday. And the name of the article is, and I'm not kidding, it's called Really, Really Bad. Scientists Raise Alarm Over Warm Ocean Water Beneath Doomsday Glacier in Antarctica. So they're talking about the Thwaites Glacier. That glacier, P.S., is about the same size as Great Britain. Not it's not small. It's like absolutely huge. So the subtitle on this is Warm Waters in this part of the world, as remote as they may seem, should serve as a warning to all of us about the potential dire changes to the planet brought about by climate change. So what they've done here, they a, a lot of British and American scientists went to the Thwaites Glacier, which
Hmm.
they also call the Doomsday Glacier. It's absolutely huge. And at its ground line, it's more than 100 miles wide. So the bottom of the Thwaites Glacier, where it hits the sea and has a ground line, the ground line is where the actual ice meets the bottom ground.
Hmm.
And it actually extends into the water a mile. That's kind of amazing. It's so
Wow.
deep. So a study by British and American scientists revealed that a massive sheet of ice known as the Doomsday Glacier, I didn't know it was called that, is melting faster than previously believed. That again is with our theme: faster than expected, faster than believed, unexpected, all these things. It's always exponential, right? Edging the world closer to a possible sea level rise of more than 10 feet. So there are 10 feet of sea level rise wrapped up in the Thwaites Glacier, which is melting faster and faster and faster. So these researchers drilled through nearly 2,000 feet of ice. Good Lord, that's like half a mile of ice
Wow.
in the Thwaites Glacier in West Antarctica to measure the temperature at the 75-mile wide ice sheet grounding line. Oh, I said it was 100 miles wide. It's only 75 miles wide. This is the grounding line is where the ice meets the ocean. The water just beneath the ice was found to be 32 degrees Fahrenheit, more than 2 degrees above the freezing temperature in the Antarctic
Wow.
region. And the reason that 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which you would normally think is freezing, it's not, it's above freezing because ice melts at a lower temperature than fresh water. I mean, saltwater ice melts at a lower temperature than freshwater ice. So these findings have huge implications for global sea level rise. I'm going to read a little quote. I'm sorry, Sandy. I'll be done soon.
No,
I'm
I
going to
was
read a
going to
little.
only say that this is one that Antonio could dig his teeth into, because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
so into sea level rise, about the
Oh,
science of sea
yes. Well,
level
who
rise.
isn't into sea level rise? It's like the
I
scariest thing
know.
going on the planet.
It's
And
pretty
it's like one
scary.
of those train wrecks that you just can't look away, and it never ends, and it gets worse and worse and exponential. What's not to, it's like everything that grabs your attention. So
Yeah.
350.org co-founder and author Bill McKibben was among the climate action campaigners who expressed alarm over the study. So he tweeted this out. Bill McKibben did. Oh, damn. New study finds warmer ocean water melting Antarctica's most dangerous glacier from below. So this glacier, Thwaites, is being melted from below.
From below.
Yeah, this is really, really bad, said one scientist. That's not a sustainable situation for that glacier.
Excuse me.
So they also say that the water beneath the glacier could be even warmer in different areas of the grounding line area. So it looks like sea level rise is going to exponentiate. It's in our future. Just a few facts about the Thwaites Glacier. The Thwaites Glacier has lost 600 billion tons of ice over the past several decades. Yay! Accelerating to as many as 50 billion tons per year in recent years. Last week, or I guess was it last week, Sandy, we were talking about Greenland, and we
Yep.
were talking about how since 1992, I think we were saying,
How much?
Greenland's ice melt has accelerated by 9 times. I mean,
9 times.
that's like 900%. It's crazy amount to think about. So this also, Antarctica is galloping along, and
Yeah.
and the melting is accelerating to 50 billion tons a year from Thwaites alone.
And the BBC does have a video, which I'm not going to play, but it's on the article, and everything will be in the notes on both Facebook and YouTube, by the way, to do
Hmm?
some housekeeping. And I still can't get everybody up, but what did Philip says? Mostly sea level rise is a red herring. Oh my. Michael says, how about sea temps rising? Well, of course they're rising. They rise with every storm.
Yeah, sea temperature is getting warmer all the time, and
Yep.
the ocean is getting warmer throughout. Chris Mooney, who's a very well-known author who writes for the Post, he's a very good journalist. I think a lot of you guys know him. This
Yeah,
is a
Chris
comment
Mooney.
that he said about Thwaites. Thwaites gets deeper and thicker from its oceanfront region back into its interior in the heart of West Antarctica. This is known to be an unstable configuration for a glacier because as the ocean continues to eat away at its base, the glacier becomes thicker, so more ice is exposed to the ocean. In turn, that ice flows outward faster. So,
It's pretty hairy. We
yeah,
got a lot of
it
people. Human says, how many Olympic swimming pools would that calculate to?
is.
You know,
Human, you figure it out and let us
yeah,
know.
you let us know. And let's see, your environment, Seattle, sea level rise is not uniform across all regions. Millions of people in Southeast Asia will be underwater, as well as the Miami airport during the king tides. Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we know
that's
that's,
right.
thank you for that. We do know. Um, well, anyway, we have a
Yes.
segue to a kind of a sad one, but kind of a sad
Yes.
one that we're getting used to more and more with activism and activists that are trying to preserve species and
Mhm.
land. And this was
Mhm.
another one, Jennifer. This one I'm going to
Yeah.
also
Can
respectfully
I
hand
just
off to you.
segue in and say that this article here, and I won't read the article, but I just want to
Oh,
give
you
a
don't want to?
plug in here. This article here was given to our attention from Jan Wiley of open-intelligence.co.uk. Jan Wiley is the one that has the database of environmental change. So he sent this my way, and it's very, very sad. So take it away, Sandy.
Oh, you want me to do this one? Okay, I'll do this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Well, it's from
Okay.
The Scientist, and I have a graphic I'm going to put up from this one. Um, I'll get it up because it's about the butterflies, and it's small, but
No.
you
I
can
mean,
see it.
I can go through partially if you want me to. You just let me know how you want.
All right, the body of Homero Gomez Gonzalez, a fierce defender of central Mexico's monarch butterfly population, was found floating in a well on Wednesday, January 29th, the Washington Post reports, and he was 50. He disappeared on January 13th. Excuse me. Immediately afterward, local authorities launched a search to find him, and the state attorney general began investigating his disappearance. People who claimed to have kidnapped him started to call his family and demand ransom payments, and fellow conservation activists speculated that loggers or criminal groups might have targeted Gonzalez because of his efforts to conserve the monarch butterfly's winter habitat in the pine and fir forests, roughly 150 kilometers northwest of Mexico City. So basically, it goes into talking about the monarchs. You want to take this one? Do you want to read this part, Jen?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And
I'm
it's
still
so
trying to
sad.
find
I mean, this
YouTube.
guy was a defender of the freaking
Yeah.
monarch butterflies, which are just the most lovely things. And as
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows, the monarchs have been having a really hard time and they're very threatened. So this was a lovely man who had dedicated his entire life
Yeah.
to saving the monarchs. And for his efforts, he was rewarded with murder and was found dead, floating in a well. It's horrible. So each winter, millions and millions of monarch butterflies migrate to a few hilltops in the Mexican state, and I'm not going to try and say this, but it's in Mexico. Mission. I'm not going to do it. I
Don't.
hate it. I
It's
can't say
okay. It's
that word.
okay. It's okay.
I can't say that word. And the lands became federally
I'm
protected
choking.
in the 80s. Gomez Gonzalez managed El Rosario Monarch Butterfly Preserve, one of the most visited sanctuaries on the protected land, and his conservation efforts were contentious with loggers. So, he was getting in the way of some loggers who wanted to cut down trees. And they thought, well, let's just get rid of that guy and we'll be
Yeah.
able to take
Which is
trees
happening all
from.
over the world. Is this I'm is it the border wall that is being built in the south that was also destroying a butterfly habitat? I'm putting up this question. Wasn't that happening too? Not that anybody has been killed over it, but this guy was trying to just hold on, just hold on to something. And
And
he
he was
loses his
defending the
life
butterflies. What could be more beautiful and more innocent and more glorious than a
than
monarch
this.
butterfly?
I know.
It's just
And
like,
that's the
such
symbol of
a
freedom.
beautiful man, you know.
Symbol of freedom.
One of the biggest threats to the butterfly's habitat is illegal logging.
Yeah.
A former logger himself. So this guy used to be a logger and then he became the defender of the butterflies, right?
Yep.
That's kind of amazing. A former logger himself, Gomez Gonzalez, previously expressed his understanding that the industry helped many workers avoid poverty. So he understands where the loggers are coming from. But he also said he witnessed the magic, and this is lovely, the magic of being surrounded by millions of monarchs and saw the potential for
My goodness.
tourism. So he was trying to save them through tourism. He started working with
No.
conservationists and scientists to preserve the butterfly's habitat, and even posted a video of himself with the monarchs hours before he disappeared.
That's so sad.
So sad.
But it's
Authorities said
replicated.
yesterday that they found Gomez Gonzalez's body floating in a well in Soledado de El Campo, a community close to the butterfly sanctuary. So somebody did this
Often.
to him. He
Yeah.
didn't fall
No.
into this well by himself.
No.
You know,
No. He
no,
was offed because
no,
he
it's
was
horrendous.
doing the right thing. And we see this, and I can't even say the names of the activists, but there are, and if I can find the page, which is actually a memorial, and now his name is added to that, of worldwide activists trying, using their last shred of dignity, Jennifer?
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
sad. You know,
Well,
I mean, you want to do the right thing, and there's always a risk, especially if you get in the way of profit. If what you're doing actually impacts somebody's bottom line and their profit,
yeah,
you could become like a target,
which is
which is
what's
really
happening.
sad.
This is what's happening. And
Yeah.
now we're going to segue into
Okay.
the locusts. And I've got a picture of the locusts up there right in between us. And they are something else, but they're all over. And I had made a video. If you had joined us early enough, there is a video which will play at the end of the show as well that did show several variations and pictures of what's happening. And it's quite disconcerting. And this is from Zero Hedge, which I don't usually use Zero Hedge much, but it was an article that is factual. So billions of locusts are eating everything in sight in East Africa right now. And every single day, many more farms are being completely wiped out. Unfortunately, authorities are telling us that what we have seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, if extreme measures are not implemented immediately, authorities are claiming that the locust plague could literally get 500 times worse in a few
How could
months
that be? How can it
because
go
they
from
are exponentially multiplying. But we'll get to the pesticides and all that because God knows what they're.
oh,
But it's difficult to imagine conditions getting any worse than they are at this moment. Ravenous. Whoops. I just lost it. Wait a second.
yep,
Oh, I can't
ravenous
believe.
locust
Go ahead. You
swarms
finish it for some
that
reason.
are the size of cities. So these locust
Oh my
swarms are the
God.
freaking size of cities. Can you
Yeah.
imagine
No.
enough
And I lost it.
locusts? And they look like grasshoppers, right? These locusts are like grasshoppers with wings. And the swarms are the size of cities. How many billions of locusts could this be? Are consuming crops at a
Thank you,
staggering
Jennifer.
pace. And this could potentially cause famine on the
Yeah.
African continent that is unlike anything that we have ever seen before. Again,
The
unlike anything we have ever seen.
the
Quicker
graphics
than
are
expected.
insane.
They really are.
And I just screwed up, so
Yeah.
I can't find my article. So you were doing it, and I'm going to
Okay.
open up the other one, but I think I can't. Okay. All right,
Well,
we'll
I
go
can
for it.
I can continue on this. It's
Go
not a
for it.
problem.
It's your night.
um, but this is actually happening,
Yeah,
So
it is.
I mean, this has never
That
been
picture
is
that's on there is our locusts. It's just a very
the
good
swarms,
picture, but
the swarms.
this is South Africa,
East Africa.
East Africa. Oh, there's a graphic. It's happening in India, it's happening in Africa, it's happening in several countries.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's happening.
But this is
Here
actually
it is.
happening right now, at this very second. Billions of locusts are absolutely devastating East Africa,
Yeah,
and
East
each
Africa.
one can eat its own weight in food every single day.
You're
Wow.
right. East Africa, Ethiopia, Somalia, and Kenya, the worst infestation in decades. And it would be hard to overstate what this is going to mean for the region. Did I overlap you?
Oh,
Seems
you're
I mean
great,
not my night. According to the
doing great.
FAO, this plague is an unprecedented threat to food security and livelihoods in the Horn of Africa. But I had found a map that showed it's not just there, and
Oh,
that
really?
yeah, and there's crops. There are countries where there are crops that are endangered also, but the infestation is not quite as severe as what we're seeing now with this one. But this was 60 kilometers long by 40 kilometers wide. In other words, one of the swarms was larger than any major city on the entire planet. And they
Oh
need
my
money. But
God.
I'm not going to read the rest. Actually, I just want to talk more of that. We already have millions upon millions of Africans dealing with acute hunger right now. If these crops, they have 4 airplanes I was reading about that are spraying we God knows what on these crops that feed the livestock, and then think of the chain, the livestock, and then the people. So it's a real it's a catastrophe. It's a horror that's going on there,
Mm-hmm.
and
It
that's
is
not
a
the only
horror.
horror there. I mean,
And it says this plague continues to get worse. The stage is being set for a famine that is far greater than anything that
yeah,
any of us have ever witnessed. Think of that statement. I mean, that's freaking crazy. The density of some of these locust swarms is absolutely crazy. According to officials, a single locust swarm can have up to 150 million locusts per
million,
square kilometer.
yeah, a lot of them.
Oh
Well,
God.
I'm going to segue to something because, of course, with every story that involves locust, there's a biblical interpretation. Remember, we were talking about the what is that word? Well, American preacher Rick Wiles. He now claims that the locust swarms wreaking havoc in Kenya are a punishment for corruption from God. Speaking
God
to
help
True
us.
News, Wiles, the guy, well, I won't go into who he is, but he's a real gem of a creep. He's from Florida. Figures.
All good
He
things come
said he
from
was doing,
Florida.
yeah, right. He said he was on well drilling rigs to Florida, and what he was saying is the people are dying of thirst. And he was saying that the corruption is so bad that there's payola. Basically, really, you get in there to do anything, you got to pay the officials. They're corrupted. Okay, well, guess what? Is that much different from our country, the United States, or I mean, any country? It's the way it goes. But he's talking about public officials. Well, our public officials, I won't even go there. I won't even go there. But this guy is so vile, and he says he compared to what is happening in Kenya with the coronavirus outbreak in China. He's saying God is sending plagues to sinful nations. Well, my whole thing, Jennifer, was why the hell isn't that locust colony sitting in Washington D.C. on top of the White
No
House?
kidding. Go send it to Trump.
Yeah, right on top of the White House. Well,
Yeah, he says here, while describing how God is meting out punishments by sending locusts to eat all the farm produce, Wiles said that he is hoping the locusts will eat the deception and the lying while at it. What is this guy? I
this
mean,
is somebody that a
honestly,
lot of people in our country follow. I mean, it's
oh,
this is the very religious, right, that have, in my opinion, pretty much everything wrong, and they have an interpretation of every. Well, basically, locusts are it's a harbinger of doom. Locusts are a
yeah.
harbinger of doom.
Listen to what this guy says. I mean, he's just disgusting. He says, "When we choose not to bend our knees, then the Lord cranks up the pressure. Look what's happening in Kenya and what's happening into America. It's also happening in China." Who is this guy? Where does he get off with this
Because they
horrible,
all do.
horrible?
He probably has a big following in Florida that donate their retirement money to him, or well, I won't even go. We're not going to go to religion because it incites and it gets people angry. So let's
Yeah.
just see what's going on YouTube, since I cannot bring anybody in from YouTube on there. Hey Jude is here, and Kendra. Let's see. Oh, you guys were talking about something completely different. God is strangely, oh yeah, the biblical thing. Climate Marcher John. Oh yeah, the biblical thing explains why the weather in in San Francisco is simply fabulous. And Osama said God is a psychopath. I mean, we could, most religions start after a disaster, which is what Ecocentric Homestead said. Hi, honey, how are you? I have to catch up on so many channel videos. It's terrible. I'm so bad. I'm so behind. And Richard's here, Unstructured Understanding. Listen to Paula White. Oh, Paula White, 45 spiritual witch. Did you see her on
No.
television? She's a
Uh-uh.
televangelist kind of person. That
Oh,
is our president's spiritual advisor.
God help us.
It's like a kind of a comedy, but Lori says it's a way for them to make sense of the craziness and feel righteous, but it's dumb. You know what? I'm not talking about the rank and file person that believes in something. I don't want to put people like that down. I'm talking about the institutions that rip them off. I'm talking about the people that bring in a load of crap and have perverted, the word of God for money. Okay, so there we go, and I'm going to be finished with that. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, well, everybody's having. Black Bear
I,
News was live 2 hours ago. I was running errands. I was on there and I told everybody, come here tonight. And they are, because
oh, great.
we're such a good community. I mean, Black Bear, Natural Progressive, Claps Chronicles, Going South, Green Pill TV,
Absolutely.
um, Unstructured Richard, Unstructured Understanding. Gosh,
Yep.
there's just so many. I could just rattle them off.
We all learn together as this rolls out. I have
Yeah, we
something
do.
else to go over here too, Sandy, if you don't mind.
Absolutely go for it, because we are only at 43 minutes. And yes, I'm
Right.
moving around a lot, but I'm going to give you the stage so I can stand up. I'm giving you the screen. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So this is also in Africa. This is in southern Africa. So food insecurity. I mean, what all these locusts happening in East Africa, Sandy said it's probably not just in East Africa. Um, there's an article that has just come out, and it is from DW. It's a good periodical. UN warns hunger crisis in southern Africa on scale we've not seen before. Again, it's repeating. Haven't seen this before. A record 45 million people across southern Africa are in need in or excuse me, in southern Africa are in urgent need. This was written wrong, by the way. I'm like not going to read what they wrote. I'm going to make it my own. Urgent need of food aid, the UN has said. The situation is expected to get worse as the annual cyclone season begins. So we have been seeing a lot of cyclones hit Africa in a very, very tough way. But this one is bad. Food is running out. An unprecedented number of people in 16 countries across southern Africa are gravely food insecure as climate change wreaks havoc on the region. The UN World Food Programme warned on Thursday. The hunger crisis is on a scale we've not seen before, and the evidence shows it's going to get worse, says the regional director. The crisis is impacting 45 million people. Think of that. 45 million? Really? Many of whom are women and children, of course. The region has been hit hard by repeated droughts, widespread flooding, and economic hardship. So this is hitting um, Lesotho, Madagascar,
Hmm.
Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe. Those are the places that are the hardest hit. Many families across the region are already skipping meals, taking children out of school, and falling into debt to stave off agricultural losses.
Just wait till it
That
hits
is
the West.
so sad.
Just wait till it hits
But
the West.
Africa is really going down. My God. I mean, it's just
Terrifying.
been savaged, and
Maybe.
it's been having really bad cyclones as well.
Yeah, I'm going to have to bring back a guest we had who is an amazing person, but at the moment I'm having a little bit of a brain fart. I can't remember his name. Antonio interviewed him. What a great interview. Oh my God. But I'd
Oh,
have to find it.
Antonio's so articulate.
He is. We're going to be doing our State of the Planet soon, hopefully with all four of us.
That'll be great.
Yes, because we've missed you. We've
Oh,
missed you.
well,
So I think I don't know. I can look at some comments and say thank you for everybody coming.
yeah,
Bio also is
we have
here.
about 13 minutes or so.
Yeah,
I
but
have other articles I
oh,
can
you
go
do. Oh,
go
Jennifer,
through
you're
if
on
you
a
want.
roll.
If
Hell
you want.
yeah! I'll just, if nobody minds me just moving around a lot.
No,
All
go
right,
ahead and
go
shake it, babe.
for it. I'm shaking it. You go for it.
Okay. So
Okay.
this is an article that just came out the day before yesterday. This is another one from phys.org. Um, marvelous publication. It's about heat. We know the Earth is getting hotter. And it says record heat forecast for coming years. We all have been watching the heat with
Mm-hmm.
great interest and obsession, I would say. But says here that it's going to get hotter. in the next 5 years. The coming 5 years are anticipated to be warmest period on record, Britain's Met Office said on Thursday, warning of an outside chance of Earth breaching the Paris climate deal 1.5 degrees centigrade temperature rise
Damn.
before 2024. So, we all knew that, you know,
Hmm.
it 1.5 was going to be breached, but this says before 2024. That's in 4 years. That's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a regular decadal forecast looking at predicted near-term climate trends, it said that each year between 2020 now and 2024 is set to be 1.06 to 1.62 hotter than the historical average.
Jeez.
The Met Office forecast it likely that the hottest year on record, 2016, will be beaten in that time frame. No kidding. It's getting hotter. Well, I mean, it's chemistry. You keep dumping all this crap, and it's not just carbon dioxide, guys.
Of course
There
not.
are a ton of greenhouse gases that make it hotter. Plus, water vapor, for every degree that the atmosphere goes up globally overall, um, 7% more water is being held in the atmosphere. And water vapor itself is a greenhouse gas, a potent greenhouse gas. So that's going into it along with all the additional carbon dioxide, which the emissions for carbon dioxide are not going down at all. They're actually
But Jennifer, the Heartland Institute says that CO2 is good for the plants and that this whole effect is the greening effect and we'll be fine.
well. I don't know what to say about that.
Boo.
I'm glad we're going to be fine. I'm really relieved that
Sure,
everything that we've
yeah.
been looking at for the
Especially when
last
Rick,
dozen
what's his name's
years.
God comes to get us and save us too with the locusts.
Yeah. The latest
Oh,
5-year forecast suggests continued warming, consistent with sustained high levels of greenhouse gases. Doug Smith, a Met Office fellow and a cattle prediction expert. Can you imagine
a
if you
cattle
were
predictor?
a decadal, DECADAL, if you were a
Decattle.
decadal prediction expert?
No. I wonder what you need as your background for that. Is that a
I,
PhD?
I don't know, but you have to study to be a decadal prediction expert.
Like a
Once,
copperologist, you know what they do, right? The study of copperology. Copperology
uh,
is the study of fossilized shit. Or even not.
oh,
We practice copperology in our backyard, looking at deer scat and fox poop and whatever else comes in the backyard.
so
Different
funny.
kinds. Yeah. Go ahead.
Most regions are expected to be warmer, and forecast patterns suggest enhanced warming over land, especially northern parts of Europe, Asia, and North America, extending the global ongoing trend.
Wow.
So, you know, they do talk a little bit about, if a volcanic eruption came, there would be sun blocking debris, but that washes out after a while. So that's kind of momentary. And as soon as all that sun blocking debris washes out, much like nuclear winter stuff would
Right.
eventually wash out, then it actually comes in even stronger with a vengeance.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Boy, you make some
So
sense there.
last year alone, record highs were registered in several countries, including across Northern Europe during an unprecedented heat wave. I love that word unprecedented.
Unprecedented. It's
Occurring,
constant.
it's occurring every single day. Everything is unprecedented, and every single day it's like worse. Unprecedented heat wave that scientists said was made more likely by climate change. Well, no shit, you know.
It,
So the world is getting hotter. The locusts are eating the food in Africa. Africa is
Mm-hmm.
starving.
Mm-hmm.
The Arctic is messing up the jet stream. The jet stream is dripping and getting lower
Earthquakes
and
and what?
affecting El Nino.
Earthquakes in the Philippines, right? Earthquakes. And what else did we have? Oh, Kobe Bryant died.
Oh,
And that's only in January. It's only January that just passed.
oh,
I mean, we have a
so
lot of
sad.
stuff. We have a lot of stuff. All right, guys, on YouTube. And thank you, Jennifer, for that. Let's look. Let's look because we can't put you up tonight for some reason. The software goofed. It's not user error tonight. It is not user error. I'm telling you. Osama's with us. Steven said, oh, they're talking about the virus. The virus has already caused the market to drop on Friday. It won't.
Or are they talking about
Yeah,
coronavirus?
and Bio said the coronavirus won't kill humanity. It'll barely kill the old and weak Chinese. It's barely killing the old and weak Chinese people. All right, well, we'll see. I have no idea because we did not prepare to talk about the virus tonight, although I was in an airport and there were a lot of people wearing masks and we weren't. But you know what? If it's my time from whatever it is, and I would go to a little country hospital and they wouldn't know what it was anyway. I'm not worried about it. I think it's going to be like a foodborne. I think it's going to be something from some disgusting, reprehensible factory farming habit, some mutation of a virus that is going to be. I mean, it's usually foodborne, isn't it? Usually a foodborne pathogen. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my butt, Jen, but it's just what I thought from reading things that a lot of stuff starts with pork. Scott Murdo, Heartland and Joe, what's his name from there would be spewing their BS propaganda from the shores of a purple H2S ocean if it were possible. Oh, I forgot that we're a little behind. Oh, yeah. Steven says all the viruses come from eating animals. So I guess that's, basically usually what we'll find out, you know? I mean, I don't know.
No
I'm
kidding.
certainly not an epidemiologist, although I did work with one. Oh gosh, how many years ago when I was with doing grant work with the department, we had a New York State Department of Health grant, and we were implementing worksite health promotion programs. This was before my HR. I was working with HR. It's pretty interesting, though. Epidemiology is pretty interesting. It's just more statistics. Everything involves statistics. Can't do
Yeah.
anything without statistics and models and statistics. And at that, I'm probably done. Jen, why
I'll
don't
just
you?
finish the
Yeah.
last paragraph of this "It's getting
Okay.
hot" type article. With just over 1 degree C of warming so far, and that's debatable. I think we've probably gone up more than 1 degree C. I think a lot of you will agree. Earth has already been battered. They're saying 1 degree C has already caused this. Earth has already been battered by a string of deadly wildfires, droughts, storm surges exacerbated by rising seas, phenomena all made more likely by climate change. So, climate change is going to get us, definitely. I mean, it's getting worse. And with that cheery thought,
I know.
Sandy, do we have anything to end this on an upbeat note so it's not so sad?
Plant
Can you think of
trees.
something good?
Plant trees, even they say that's not. Plant trees, live off the land, simplify your life. I'm trying. It's very, very, very hard in our civilization to do it. It's very hard. Go vegan, start with a vegetarian. I'm considering and doing it sort of looking at all these protein sources and trying to learn because I happen to like eggs and cheese. But what I'm saying is it's not going to be our personal habits that are going to fix what we need to fix if it's indeed fixable. However, that being said, my positive thing is on a day to day basis, you're waking up in the morning, get your ass out there, do something to help your community, society, and vote in the United States. And what can
That's
I
right.
say?
That's right.
Vote. even
Yeah.
though
And,
even though
you
I
know,
could go for an
we're
hour
still
about
alive.
them.
It beats the alternatives. And I think we can be grateful that
And
for those
save
of
the
us who
chocolate. Mike says,
save the
save the
chocolate,
chocolate and the coffee.
definitely,
Oh, and the
and save
coffee.
the beer too.
The beer, but coffee. Coffee today was a big one. How climate change
Oh,
is going to change your coffee. So, all of us coffee drinkers, we're going to be like this
yeah.
5 years.
No.
Oh, well, sorry we couldn't do this last night, but Jennifer, I'm going to let you have the last word because I'm getting very tired and silly.
Oh,
Thank you,
golly.
everyone.
I don't even know what to say is the last word. I wish I could think of something inspiring to say, but I think
Well, then we'll
most of
find a
us
comment.
here on this channel watch the news so carefully, and we're all very concerned and probably somewhat obsessed with keeping informed. But I always
No,
think it's better to be informed than not to be informed and to be asleep. And I would rather look at the train approaching in the tunnel, rather than stick my head in the sand and say it's not so. But that's just my personal choice, and I think that probably everybody watching this show feels pretty much the same way. So, keep looking at those news articles and come to, a greater sense of realization of what's happening in this
exactly.
very, very important and critical time that we're living in.
Very eloquently said. And I'm going to tell everybody we had a really nice video in the beginning of this, and we're going to end with that video. So have a wonderful Saturday wherever you are. Jennifer, I love you. I don't know if we'll stay on. If not, I will talk to you in a couple of minutes, and I'll put the video on, guys. Watch. Peace. We love you. And here comes the video.